There's a ton of misinformation surrounding the food truck industry, which makes it difficult for future owners to get a clear picture of what they're getting themselves into. So before we get into the fundamentals of starting a food truck business, I'd like to clear up a few myths about the industry first. Myth number 1, starting a food truck is cheap. Let's compare the startup cost of a food truck to that of a restaurant, because they're both in the food industry. In a major city like New York, a small restaurant that's less than 1,000 square feet may start at around $300,000 and can very quickly reach $500,000 or more. The average food truck, on the other hand, costs between $50,000 and $100,000. So obviously, starting a food truck is much cheaper than starting a restaurant. But I wouldn't necessarily call a food truck cheap, unless you've got Jay-Z money.
What's 50 grand to a motherfucker like me? Can you please remind me?
If 50 grand is nothing to you, you can say this one is true. But for the rest of us, this one is probably going to be false. Myth number 2, you should start a food truck if you love cooking. Probably 90% or more of food truck owners get into the industry because they love to cook. And it's true that if you don't have a passion for cooking, you won't make it very far. But at the end of the day, a food truck is still just a business. It has to get permits, it has to control costs, and it has to have a management structure like all other businesses. This means that if you want your food truck to be successful, you need to be passionate about not just cooking, but also about running a business, which is what this course is mainly about. This is also one of the big reasons that a lot of food trucks and restaurants are started by partners, usually a head chef and a business manager. I'll get into the pros and cons of partners in the next chapter. Anyway, this one is false. The reality is, you should start a food truck if you love cooking and running a business. Myth number 3, food trucks make a lot of money. The profit margins for food trucks are generally very good, and you can definitely make a 6-figure income. Profit margin is the money left over after paying all your expenses. So if your food truck earns a total of $10,000 a month, and your expenses total $7,000, your profit margin is $3,000 or 30%. The average restaurant's profit margin is only around 5%, so a 30% profit margin is insane. However, you have to be very careful with these numbers. A food truck owner might tell you that his truck makes $5,000 profit every month, and you might be like, damn! But what he doesn't tell you is that he's not paying himself a separate salary.
That doesn't make sense.
Let's look at the numbers. He's probably working at least 9 hours a day during the week, and maybe a few hours on Saturday. So let's say 50 hours total per week, which is probably on the low end for a business owner. Minimum wage in New York City as of 2020 is $15 an hour, which works out to $750 a week or $3,000 a month. If you subtract this from his profit, his truck is actually making a $2,000 profit, not $5,000.
Well, there's more to the story.
If you were to bump up his hourly rate to $25 an hour, which is much closer to what an actual manager would earn, he should be paying himself $1,250 a week or $5,000 a month. When you look at it this way, his truck isn't actually making any profit. He just thinks it is because he doesn't consider his own labor as an expense. Also, most food trucks and probably most small businesses don't pay their full share of taxes and insurance. So in reality, their profit margin is just leftover money from cheating the government. They haven't built a successful business. They've just figured out how to be a semi-legal criminal.
True that. True that.
I'd say that the majority of food trucks just barely get by, and only the top 5 to 10% rake in the dough. So overall, this one is false. Myth number 4, it's easy to operate a food truck. This one really depends on where you live. To work legally on a food truck, a lot of states require you to have some type of food truck license. In New York City, it's called the mobile food vending license, and it's a huge pain in the ass to get. For some reason, New York makes all food truck employees, whether they're part-time, full-time, or temporary, get a certificate of authority before even being eligible to apply for the mobile license.
What's that?
A certificate of authority is what a business owner needs to legally collect sales tax from customers and to buy wholesale goods. So, why does a food truck employee need this?
Who knows? It's nebulous.
The whole process takes 1 to 2 months, so naturally you won't find many job applicants who already have the mobile license. Maintenance is also pretty intense on a food truck because all of your equipment is constantly jumping up and down whenever the truck is moving. And a lot of manufacturers will shorten the warranty period if their equipment is used in a mobile food operation. Even the truck itself can also have a breakdown, get into an accident, get broken into, or get stolen. So we can say this one is false. By now, you may have given up hope of ever operating a successful food truck. Yes, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. My partners and I have built a food truck business that has 7 full-time employees, and the 3 owners, including myself, all paid on the books. That's 10 full-time salaries. We have all the proper licenses, all the proper insurance coverages, we pay all taxes, and our truck makes a 6-figure net profit every year on top of our salaries.
No, this place is ugly anyway. You and me, we're family.
So, don't give up hope just yet.